Okay, I think we're ready to go. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our 16th episode of the Restaurant Dealmaker Show. The Restaurant Dealmaker Show features a prominent person related to the food service industry, either a former client, an RRC agent or broker, or other accomplished person related to the food and beverage industry. This month, we are gladly featuring Tim Dale, who I met over 20 years ago in my early years at Restaurant Realty. During Tim's restaurant and bar career, he was involved in some of the best-known restaurants and bars in San Francisco, including Eddie Jack's, the Taproom Bar, 11, NDA Lounge, the Up and Down Club, Fume, La Colonial, and Wolfdale's in Lake Tahoe, which is still owned and operated by his brother. I had the opportunity of selling 11, which Tim was the managing partner of, which was a popular restaurant and club in the South of Market area in San Francisco, where all the fashionable clubs at one time were located in the city. I then sold for Tim and his partner the Up and Down Club in San Francisco, and then sold to Tim a wine bar, which he converted to a Japanese restaurant and cigar bar. Tim certainly does not lack creativity, for sure. Tim's career extended to studying and teaching yoga, and he founded Yoga Tree, which was built up to 10 units, which he sold to a larger yoga company. Tim's next journey took him to founding and directing OM Rising, which produces music empowerment yoga festivals, where he is currently the director of. Tim will discuss in more detail some of these ventures during our conversation. Just as a procedural matter, if you have questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box and we will try to respond to them during the show. Okay, with all that being said, Tim, maybe you could give us some more details on your background. I just sort of skimmed the surface, so please.
Wow, yeah, right on, Steve. And thank you very much for having me today.
It's my pleasure.
It's really
Thanks
great
for joining us.
And thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and everybody out there and Ethos kind of watching this presentation. So, it began in the beginning. It's kind of like I was off to be a wilderness instructor and more into wilderness and mountaineering and nutrition and health. And then my brother and my sister and my brother-in-law gave me the opportunity to come help open up this little restaurant in Lake Tahoe, which that was when I was still a teenager. So it was an influential place, and I just found that I really resonated with that work. The rest is kind of history. It's like, you kind of show up as you can, where you can, try to play the best part you can and do your best work. And then I've just really found that I resonated with, the social aspect of it, the creative aspect, the people, the food and beverage industry, just, all the little nuances and the aesthetics and the creativity that went into the hospitality industry. It was just it really lit me up and became my fertile soil.
Well said. So first question to you, having created and built many successful businesses, what do you think are the key elements to pay closest attention to when developing a project?
Okay, great question. Well, I think I break it down into three segments. There's the ambiance and the atmosphere, right? And then there's also the food and beverage part of the equation, where whether it be what's on the menu or what do you have, what you're doing behind the bar, and then there's also the service and staff end of the equation. So the aesthetics and the interior, you have complete control over that. That's why so many restaurateurs spend so much money on their interior and their interior design and the front door and the signage. And because, if you put a great sign up, that sign's always going to be there. The food is also obviously, the meat and potatoes. That's the important part of the whole project. And that's what's going to drive, your success in the industry, whether you make it or not. And it's a variable. And then also, then you've got the staffing and the service, which is also important. You're only as good as your staff members and your representation, and how well they're all clicking and able to understand sales, understand what good service is, understand just the importance of a quality product. So in terms of the three components that I feel go into a great business, that's kind of how I've broken it down.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I mean, from my past experiences in the business, I sort of echo what you just said. Those are the three key elements you definitely need to focus on, without a question. Another question. Knowing that you had an extensive restaurant and bar and club background, and then transitioned into owning yoga studios and then producing yoga festivals, how and why did you do all this? I mean, just interesting sequence of events. Obviously, the underlying being very people oriented as you are, and so I would assume that was a big impetus for taking this trail as you did. But I'd like to hear your other comments regarding how this basically went. And I don't remember if you were actually in the yoga business at the same time you were in the restaurant business. I'm not sure if that was the case, or you just exited out of the restaurant and went into the yoga business. How did that whole thing relate as well?
Thank you. Yeah, there was some overlap there as well. But to start where you started the question, I've always had the privilege and good fortune and luck to be able to work from my heart and work from where my soul takes me and where I kind of want to be. The old saying that if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Well, I've never worked a day. It's always been just like, I've been very fortunate to have been able to pursue the things I love. And, whether it be a restaurant project that I could get really excited about early on, and I got excited about all of them. It was like, as you when you read my tenure earlier, you saw that back when I was younger, in my 20s and 30s, that I was pretty busy. Well, it was kind of like in my frame of mind back in those days was I never met a deal I didn't like. So it was kind of like I just got really excited about what I was doing. I pulled off the creative juices, and I would line up the players and the people and the lease or and the investors, and just was really able to create some really fun dynamite projects. And then let's see, your question was kind of long there.
Yeah. Kind of transitioning from the food and beverage business into the yoga business and the yoga and the production,
right?
Right. Rising.
I'd always been really passionate about yoga and martial arts and exercise. My bicycle is the favorite extension of my body, and I've also just really embraced my physical well-being. So I've always had, to balance myself in the restaurant and nightclub industry, I always made sure to have a really strong physical practice. And then I found that to be even more important, as I was starting to grow older, and through cross training and my yoga practice, I was able to keep youthful. And so I sort of thought to myself, wow, I'm so into yoga. Why don't I open up a yoga studio? And my timing, at the same time I was working at developing the Le Colonial project in Union Square in the old Trader Vic's location. And so I looked at this potential location for a yoga studio, and I thought, just through curiosity and ambition and my love of yoga and community, and bringing people together. I thought, well, I'm going to go for it and open up a little yoga studio. And my timing was so right on. That was in 1999, and my timing with the way yoga was kind of firing on all cylinders, especially in San Francisco, a very innovative community, was just unbelievable, because within a handful of months, I was at capacity. So when you're at capacity, what do? Open up another location. So the second location, the third location, they spoke to me. I was able to make all that work with just the support of the teachers around me, and the support of great landlords, and the way the community and the people practicing yoga were coming in and supporting my business. So it's kind of like, all I had to do is get the party started, and the rest, it just had legs.
That's cool. That's cool. And do you like one industry more than the other, or each industry, I guess, has its own unique characteristics? So it's hard to, there's obviously advantages and disadvantages of each different field you've been involved in. But what you're thinking generally there?
Well, I'd have to articulate a little bit more than that, because I love both industries. But what I really love is kind of like the way they come together, and the way that the synchronicity works with a particular business, because obviously I've had more success and more enjoyment from some of my yoga studio locations than others. I've had more success and more enjoyment from some of my restaurants and bars than others. And so much of it is a combination of who you're doing it with, because it's really challenging when you're not on the same page as your partner might be, or you have a partner that doesn't becomes challenging, or some climates and some neighborhoods and some physical locations just tend to be more challenging than others. But there is a kind of there's a magic potion to the whole thing. It doesn't just happen. There's so much nuances and details and quality control, or the physical location, and or all those things kind of come into play with each one of those businesses. And it's so important to make sure that you establish yourself with people that are on the same page, and you feel are going to treat you fairly at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, obviously you're an excellent people person, and be able to motivate all those people to work with you as a team and build a very successful operation in the yoga business. And tell us a little bit more about OM Rising. I've read some stuff about it.
I'm excited to tell you about OM Rising. Before you say that, I want to reinforce what you just said, just about being the people person and all that, because so much of my success comes from the people around me. So much success comes from the support of family, the support of whether it be a great chef that I got on board with, or incredible musicians or DJs that decide to come and play at one of my venues, or an awesome yoga teacher that just really knows how to, total rock star, knows how to bring it, holding space yoga teacher. So it kind of takes, it takes, I can't do this shit alone. It's like takes so many powers to be, and so many people to get excited, and so many people to have common vision with. It is really the magic of this hospitality industry. Is it's about co-creating.
Yeah.
So thank you for that question. That was it's been a very, very, very big reason for my success.
Yeah. So how did you develop all this empathy and compassion and love of people? What was it? Obviously, you came from a big family, I'm sure a close family. I know your father was in the entertainment business. And perhaps that had some bearing on your direction. I'm not sure, but just I'm sort of curious as to what were all the external drives that led you to the successful careers you've had.
Thank you. Yeah, these are behaviors. These are learned behaviors, aren't they? And it's kind of like the way you're brought up. It's I was brought up in a family where civil rights and social justice were very important, giving everybody a fair shake, holding people to their highest, place. I've found, and I've learned this from from my parents pretty much, that when you hold people in a high place, that usually they'll rise for the occasion, and it's like people only perform as well as you hold them to. So yes, that was something that has always been very important to me, and it's also in the rewards are there. It's like so many relationships have come through mutual understanding and love and support of each other.
More people in this world should have your attitude. The world would certainly be a better place to live in.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah, well, it serves us pretty well to be in community.
Very much so. Yeah, no, it's so important to give back to community. I know that's the way I was raised. In fact, my grandfather had an ethical will, and he basically said, children, it was to his children, my father, his brother and sister, that, you should teach your children to be, good people, to help the community, to get involved and, give back and to be thankful for what you have, and just try to make the world a better place. And that's always, been born in my head and the way I'm thinking. And consequently, I've gotten involved in a lot of nonprofit organizations over the years. And it gives you a great feeling, just, giving back, because we're so fortunate to have what we have, living in this country, without a question.
Right on. So true. And I totally get that about you, Steve. Every time, we would, like you said in the beginning, we've been working together for a lot of years now.
Yes.
And I've always enjoyed this relationship just because you understand that, what is good for the person you're doing business with is good for, it comes back and goes all around. And this is it's so big-minded of you to have that attitude. So thank you.
Yeah, I think my father and grandfather and were instilling those ideals into my way of life, very much so. And getting back to the business side of things. So, do you think through an exit strategy when you're starting a project?
Absolutely. So when I'm starting a project, it's some big picture stuff, And first, you need, obviously, the most important location, as they say, location. You need to make sure that you got the physical plant and the place can do what you need it to do. Then, obviously, the place needs to speak to you. It really needs. You need to be able to walk in there and have a vision. It's got to kind of get your imagination working. So that is the next stage, and then you sort of you got to put the pencil to the paper and make sure that it can pencil out and do the numbers that it needs to do, and then where do you want to be 5 years from now? Where do you want to be 10 years from now? When I first came down to San Francisco and started opening up restaurants, I was trendy. I was a young guy and I wanted hip and cool. I've loved
at least in my perspective.
But what I'm saying though is that these restaurants and clubs that I created at the beginning, they were fun, but they didn't have legs. You know what I mean? It was almost like you created these things in the moment, and wow, what a hot club or a hot restaurant it was. And usually that would last like 3 to 5 years, and then all of a sudden things would start to cool down, and somebody would open up down the street that was more in the moment. but I found that as my tenure in the industry kind of grew, that I was realizing that maybe, there were some concepts that were a little more traditional, just a little bit more kind of all encompassing, so that they didn't kind of like go out of style. They weren't bell bottoms, basically. They were a little bit more projects that had a little more staying power and could stick around a little bit longer.
Right. That makes sense.
Mhm.
So how do you balance what the customer is asking for and keeping the concept fresh and innovative? Keeping everyone happy. I know, balancing giving your chef creative freedom and keeping your regulars happy so that they will come back. How do you do that?
That's a great experience, and that question shows that you have a lot of tenure in the industry. You definitely know that there's a dance that takes place with your staff, with your menu, with your staff, with everything that you're kind of offering, and you kind of put out there that you've got people coming back for whether it be a particular pasta dish or the burger or the pizzas or whatnot, and if they show up, and you don't have that, they're just going to be disappointed. I've always said what the old saying is, that people don't know what they like what they know. And it's like so prevalent in somebody when they come in. It's like, oh geez, last time I was in here, I had this or that, the dish, this pizza, and it was just incredible, and they want it again. So you have to kind of do the dance. You have to get in cahoots, and make sure that your chef understands, kind of like that movie Chef, right, that we saw, whereas the chef wants to be creative, innovative, do what they do, and you want to allow them to be able to keep creative and keep doing things, but there still needs to be a couple of mainstays in the menu, and you identify what those are, and I guess make a deal with with your chef.
Yeah.
It's always been a dance in the industry for sure. Same
Yeah.
thing with yoga, by the way. People come in for a particular teacher, or I've had teachers subbing for other teachers, and a patron will show up, and if their favorite teacher's not there, they'll turn around and leave. It's like, come on, give this other guy a chance, people just get kind of stuck in their way, and you need to be able to continue to accommodate them while still keeping it creative and innovative. So I
Yes.
think that maybe there's a certain amount of trust from your customer that goes into it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The customer definitely is the king, and you got to keep them happy. And, having the right balance on the menu is so important. Especially now with the vegetarian and the vegan movement. Did your concepts have much involvement with that vegan and vegetarian?
Always.
Yes.
We're in San Francisco, and
Yes.
I'm mostly vegetarian myself. So it's like, you always make sure to have a well-rounded menu with something for everybody. And I've always embraced small farms. I think it's really, really, really important for all of us, to go to the farmers market and embrace small farms, and keep it fresh, and use organics whenever possible. Use the freshest of fresh ingredients. It's like, the old saying goes for me, is that you can make bad food with good ingredients, but you can't make good food with bad ingredients.
That's very interesting. Yeah, that makes sense.
And you just need to make sure to keep your quality and your standards high, and keep a selection for everybody. A very diverse menu. It's like, if somebody wants to come into your restaurant on a budget, they should be accommodated. But if somebody wants to come in and drink Dom Perignon, you should be able to accommodate them as well, because you don't want to miss that opportunity, right? For sale. So kind of thinking that it's just, really important to support, the the small farmer and the producer.
Right. Got it. Got it. So what are you working on now, Tim? I mean, I'm sure the group would love to hear what's happening in your
Right
world.
on. I appreciate that. Well, I'm doing some consulting. So that it's always my phone seems to ring once in a while to have because of my rapport and my tenure in the industry. I've always tried to support other people in the industry, whether it be in the beverage or music or club or the yoga industry. So I sort of keep a stick in the fire there.
Mhm.
I have, this COVID thing
Yeah.
has definitely put a stick in our spokes, right? So I'd have to say that for like the last 3 years, I've had a really hard time bringing some of my own personal projects to fruition.
Yes.
Because it just seems like we've wanted to. I didn't want to force anything, and so quite honestly, I've mostly been kind of sitting on my hands and kind of waiting for blue skies again.
Yeah.
But with that said, I am negotiating on 2 different projects right now.
Mhm.
One up in Mendocino that I'm really excited about, and so you know I have an NDA out there, so I can't really disclose too much. But
Sure. Can you say what kind of concept is it? Is it club oriented or entertainment venue or food? What kind of venue?
yeah, there's food and beverage, there's music. It's a park-like setting. There's
Hmm.
big outdoor space.
Hmm.
It's a beautiful park-like setting. And I want to also use the opportunity to do farmers markets and support small farms,
Oh, nice.
to support artists up in Mendocino and help that community up there along. I'm very much into sustainability as well as trying to get people off the grid. So I want to teach classes. I want to be able to offer classes not only in natural foods and sustainability and permaculture, but also movement in terms of have yoga workshops and dance and support educators. So we'll be doing, we'll be able to provide space for teachers and lecturers and, being able to do all types of festivals and events and support the community, bring people together.
That's wonderful. Wonderful.
It's amazing what happens when we all come together and start putting our heads together and talking, right?
Yeah.
So much has come to fruition just by circling the wagons with the right people.
Were you around the city during the great '60s era, the Haight-Ashbury era? Were you in the
I
city?
sure wasn't. No.
You wasn't. You weren't.
I was.
That was quite unique.
That was a little before my time, but I love hearing the stories.
Oh yeah,
and great. I feel like I feel like I was present for part of it just because I've gotten to hang out with so many people that were,
sure,
as well as we still listen to the same music.
Yeah, Jeff's in the airplane. Yeah, great, good stuff.
I mean, San Francisco has always been such an amazing city, such a luminary. I know we've got a little bit of a hiccup in progress right now.
Yeah,
you can bet your shorts that it'll bounce, and it's always going to be an incredible place.
Oh yeah, it will, but it's going to take some time. Unfortunately, it's a shame the way the city has deteriorated to some extent. But hopefully with the right government in place, hopefully things will get going again.
I think so. I mean, it's just, if you just think back, in San Francisco and its history, we've had to reinvent ourselves a few times. I mean, remember after the earthquake, or remember the dot bomb?
Oh, sure.
Remember, I mean, just in our tenure here, we've had a couple of events take place that it's like, holy, will this city ever will it ever be the same again? And of course, you get the naysayers, but then, it always manages to pull through. There's, there's always going to be hills and valleys. And for that matter, in our own tenure, in our own lives, we've had to, we all have our ups and downs, but the point is to just, hang in there, stay focused, keep taking really good care of yourself, and
Positive.
stay positive.
Absolutely.
It's like how many people in the industry that we know have wound up in rehab. So it's like, it's really important to have a discipline.
Yeah, very much so. Getting back to some structural questions here. When you're developing a new project, how do you determine how to allocate funds?
Great. The first and foremost, obviously, is on the physical plant, because in every business that I've created, it needs to be snappy, and it needs to have the right flow patterns. So whether it be the operational system, or whether it be the flow patterns of the restaurant, how you lay it out, where you have to keep your eye on the ball in terms of things like the sight lines, the flow patterns, the way, obviously the location. It has to have a lot of visibility, and you have to have the right cars going by with people that will be paying attention, and then so I guess that is the most predominant place, in the beginning, to allocate funds and spend money. But obviously there's a lot of quality control that goes into all businesses, and so you have to spend money where you need to.
For sure. So what have you learned from your past experiences that has made you more cautious in analyzing new opportunities? I know you mentioned earlier that you've been sitting on your butt, so to speak, during this post-COVID period of time. And obviously you learned a lot of things from your past experience, but what basically are the key experiences that you've encountered that does make you more cautious, analyzing new opportunities?
Mm.
You obviously probably use a more conservative pro forma, I would assume.
Yeah, like I said earlier, and so it's like I've gotten a lot more conservative. Now it's like you want to be cautious who you're getting in bed with. Whether, like, there's a couple projects that I've looked at lately where it's where the landlord wants you to sign a lease that's just freaking ridiculous.
Onerous, yes. Yes.
And then there's also in terms of you want to make sure that people in that demographic want to buy what you want to sell.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to make sure to have the right product, which reminds me of something that I like to say. It's like, none of my business, I've opened up over 20 businesses at this point, right? And the way you think it through in the beginning and what you're creating in the beginning, well, at the end of the day, they all wind up a little bit different. So it's so important to go into a project with an idea and a dream and a lot of creative energy. But after that, you got to keep your ear to the ground. You got to keep your finger on the pulse, and you got to make sure that you are able to do, just make the proper shifts and changes after you listen to your customer, after you get your doors open, after you see what the specialties might be of your chef or staff, or if what price point people are looking for, what the market is bearing, whether it be in the yoga industry, whether it be a certain teacher or workshop or teacher training or retreat, and it's just it's just so much easier to float downstream than it is to swim up the river, and so it's really you got to kind of listen to all the indicators and be able to respond with your with your mind on making sure to provide what people are asking for.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah, given the different businesses you've been involved in, can you share some special stories about unusual events regarding notable people?
No.
That must be very challenging.
If I could share them, they wouldn't be special. No,
Yeah.
no, yeah. There's been some crazy nights for sure. We've had some. The industry is definitely full of a lot of frock and frolic for sure, and I've had some great times. And it's always been a pleasure having Hollywood around or your favorite rock stars show up. But I must say that the real pleasure, the real richness has come from the locals, the luminaries, the kind of the people that you get to know, that are part of the community and they become your friend. We kind of have a choice in life, don't we? Whether to know a lot of people a little bit or a few people really well. And I always choose to do a little bit of a deeper dive with people, and it's always fun to host a movie star or rock star and to have some fun with them for a night. But the real relationships in this industry, I think, are nurtured, and our real relationships are people that are in your community that are doing really great work, or that you have a tremendous amount of respect for, and they become your mentor, or they become someone that you really get some juice out of.
That's cool. I've heard it said repeatedly that you as an individual are most like the 5 closest people you hang around the most. Do you agree with that?
I sure do. I remember my dad telling me, if you want to be successful, hang around with successful people. Right. Or, there's also like people that you really resonate with and that you engage with and that are loving and supporting to you. Those are the people that you want to hang out with. Those are the people that I want to hang out with anyways. And so it's it really is such a big part of your character, who you hang out with.
No question. So I know you're an avid practitioner of meditation, and you do this on a regular basis. And how has this discipline impacted running the different businesses that you've had and your whole outlook in life?
Thank you. Well, it's, stress is the biggest killer. So anything you can do to mitigate how you stress out about shit is really important. And then I have a saying that I use about stillness in motion. And there's so much, or then there's motion in stillness. And so much of doing the business, and when you watch a great restaurant or any great business for that matter, it's like a symphony. It's like an orchestra. There's all your staff kind of has to be moving in the same direction. Everybody has to be in sync and everybody has to be kind of flowing. There's a magic to it, like they always, it's always really important not to judge a restaurant in the first month or two that it opens, because it takes a minute. Everybody has to kind of get on the same page and be dancing together, and I think that when I get in my own practice, or when I find myself, that becomes just a really important. It's like, I remember one of my early on experiences, just watching a sushi chef, and he didn't waste any movements. Everything was like, and it's like you watch that efficiency. So I honestly think that it's so important for us to, not get too burdened or consumed with ourselves. Try to shed your ego as best we can. It's in restaurant business is pretty ego based, but it's kind of like, you know, uh, it's stillness in motion.
Yeah. So if you had to do anything different in your past careers, what would that look like?
Right on. Thank you. I think, like I said earlier, when I was just out of high school, one of the first things that what I really wanted to do is be a wilderness guide or instructor and teach kayaking and rock climbing. But and I'm still have an amazing affinity towards nature and wilderness. And so I think that who knows, maybe I'll become a wilderness guide at 90. But it's and also just in terms of us making, trying to pass on to each other to take really good care of ourselves, mind, body, soul, and to keep exploring.
That makes sense. And so what gives you the most enjoyment in life?
Oh, thanks. Relationships. Those are really awesome. I mean, I have a really big network of friends and family that I just absolutely adore.
It's wonderful.
Support that we give each other, and so that's pretty powerful.
Sure.
Staying in the moment and being really creative is something that I get a lot of. I'm blessed to have that. My kids, obviously. I mean, it's so awesome. And on that note, I know we have Father's Day coming up, so happy Father's Day to you, and happy Father's Day to everybody out there that has.
Ditto that. Yes. It's a nice holiday to bring family together.
It is a great one, man. I just, get so, I mean, I don't think, when it comes right down to it, is there anything in life that you get more enjoyment out of? I don't know. But let's see. I think I just love my physical practice and my meditation practice and knowing, getting those endomorphines going and staying in great shape, because I get a lot of enjoyment out of it. I mean, I used to live for my bicycle, but now it's a little bit more the hiking trail and walking my dog.
That's wonderful. That's great. You've got a fabulous attitude in life, and more people in this world should have that kind of attitude. The world would certainly be a better place to live in.
Well, you too. Right back at you, buddy. Right back.
I think you hit it. It's family is really the underlying most important part, I think, of your life. Having the relationship with your spouse and your children, and it's so important.
My brother says that let's see, I hope I can say this right, that you want to keep your friends like family and your family like friends.
That's good. That's very good. Really good. Are there any other remarks you'd like to make in general? Just anything that you haven't touched upon before, or that you'd like to reinforce at all, that the audience, do you think, would enjoy hearing about? If not, it's fine. I mean, we
like love and support, and love the people around you, and make sure they know it, and I guess just stay really creative and stay healthy and take good care of yourselves, or I don't know. It's just I'm not really all that, but it's like I really want to thank you and thank people for listening, and it's really, I'm excited to keep on being able to create and provide great experiences for people, and whether it be through entertainment or education or different ways that I can show up in the world. I'm really honored to be able to get to step into that space once in a while.
Sure. Okay. And I want to throw that back to you and thank you very much for sharing your philosophies and love of life and inspiration to everyone that's being part of this experience. If people want to get in touch with you, Tim, what is the best way for them to do that?
Let's see, you can call me. I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
I don't really do much in terms of a lot of those other apps. You know, I'm not really like an Instagram or LinkedIn guy, but I do look at them once in a while. There's always email.
Yeah. And what's your email address?
Put that up there. timdale777@gmail.
All right. Thank you.
Put that up on the screen or something if you want.
Yeah.
I'm easy to get a call or text.
Yeah. Or you can contact us at Restaurant Realty. We'll be happy to
there you go.
Connect you for sure. Just a couple of announcements to make. On Thursday, July 13th, the Restaurant Dealmaker will feature co-host Laura Van Gallen. She is a former seller client of Phoenix nightclub in San Rafael. In fact, Tim actually looked at that opportunity.
Did some business, yeah.
Yeah, and she was formerly president and CEO of Blue Marketing Company, which was a full-service marketing company. Laura's knowledge of the nightclub industry and cutting-edge marketing background will be a real treat to hear. And then on August 17, I haven't told our producer, Jeremy, yet this, and he'll probably drop when he hears it. But I'm going to be brave enough to do a solo and discuss the 10 essential principles buyers need to know in purchasing a food and beverage business.
Wow.
Get a chance to opine on my past restaurant expertise. So on September 21st, Andrew Rogerson of Rogerson Business Services, who I've known for many years, is a fellow member of various associations, business associations I'm in. He's an expert in business acquisition and sales for 26 plus years. He's a 5-time successful business owner and author of 4 books. He's also a fabulous speaker, and it will be accentuated by his fabulous Australian accent. So Tim, thank you again very much for joining us today. And thank everyone for joining us as well. Enjoy the summer and stay well. Again, thank you all.
Steve, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Take care.